Hey everyone, this is Jay, also known as Jay Nemesis on eToro, where I trade as a popular investor. This is week 22 of our 2018 eToro weekly updates. Let's take a look and see how we did this week. Our weekly stats this week, we have a portfolio change of plus 5.18%, which basically undoes what happened last week, plus 0.15% realized profit, and 17 trades were closed this week in total. Top news this week, we have the EOS mainnet launch now fully underway. The launch started obviously at the start of the month, and we've already seen the snapshot taken of the ERC20 tokens. This has now been agreed by block producers, and we're currently in the process where they are booting effectively EOS mainnet and basically testing that it's working. So pretty good on that front. Once it's done, basically, it will just be a case of testing to make sure that everything is stable. Then the users can come on and start voting for block producers, and from there, when block producers have actually been voted in for the first time, is when the network really is kind of safe and started and underway. So I expect that should be done probably within the next 24 to 48 hours. In terms of the blockchain actually being up and running, it's just a case of whether or not there are any bugs or any reasons to restart it. Next up, Bittrex have signed an agreement with a bank for adding US dollar pairs. So this is only in America at the time for the time being, and it's actually only even in like 3 or 4 states in America, including New York and Washington, a couple of others, I think. But this is obviously really good news. Bittrex is one of the first exchanges that really I trusted as an altcoin exchange for alternative currencies and some of the smaller cryptocurrencies. So it's really cool to see them adding US dollar pairs. They did say that they plan on eventually rolling this out to the rest of the US and to the rest of the world. And of course, they plan on rolling it out to more than just the corporate customers, which is who currently has access to this. So Korea is currently rumored to be going through the process of unbanning ICOs. So over in Korea, there is the National Assembly, which is basically the legal side of the government there that actually works on laws and stuff. And supposedly they are currently pushing to unban ICOs in the country. This basically came after the Committee for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, as they call it, which is a real committee from within the National Assembly, basically, had a big meeting and said that they think that South Korea has been falling behind and that they were too slow to regulate the industry and that they are potentially falling behind on innovation. And they would obviously like that not to be the case in blockchain because I guess their name is the Fourth Industrial Revolution, so their job is to look at the next big things. So this is pretty bullish news. Korea is a big market that really embraces technology, and we've already seen that the trading volume from Korea was huge. We've already seen a bit of a clampdown on exchanges, and now the exchanges are pretty stringently regulated. But seeing ICOs unbanned would generally be pretty good news. It looks like they're actually going to kind of go with a system of approving certain ICOs and really giving them permission and actually setting out some sort of very basic regulatory framework for protecting investors in South Korea. So overall, that's pretty good news, I think. Next up, Nintendo finally released a trailer for the new Pokemon game, Pokemon Let's Go. So this is the first Pokemon game on the Switch. This is pretty big news. It came out just after a Fallout announcement, actually, and kind of, massively outshone it, which is pretty crazy. Obviously, we have E3 coming up not too far away, so we'll probably see more details about it then. But the market reacted very positively to this, as they always do whenever there is a big game announced for Nintendo. Obviously, we've seen before quite a lot of confusion in the market with people mistaking Pokemon as actually being owned by Nintendo. It's obviously not. There is a separate company, the Pokemon Company, that is in charge of Pokemon, but it is, of course, an exclusive game for the Nintendo Switch, which is very, very cool, and it's very like augmented reality, ties in with the actual Pokemon Go game, which is why it's called Let's Go. So there's a lot of really, really cool stuff here, and it looks like a really, really good game. So the shares jumped substantially as a result, up by around 6.5%. Unfortunately, I actually had a position that I closed literally 2 hours before the announcement was made, so I feel pretty bad about that decision. But the market has since retreated quite a lot after it's actually earlier today, one of the big guys in Nintendo Europe, the president of Nintendo in Europe, in fact, was poached by the Pokemon Company, ironically. So shares have since fallen back basically to where they were. But pretty interesting developments, and I think E3 is going to be very exciting. So if we take a look at my trading over the past week, starting off with the cryptos, Dash, 2 trades here, pretty decent profit. Both of them were effectively me just buying the dip when it bounced off the that support level that we've already seen most of the cryptocurrencies bounce off. Dash was one that I chose not for any particular reason. It just felt like it was a bit more oversold than anything else. So I made some pretty reasonable profit on 2 trades there. Nothing crazy to shout about, but nice returns, and I've got the money back on the side again, waiting for another good opportunity. Basically the same thing in Bitcoin as well. With Bitcoin, I actually got out a bit earlier because I was still a little bit concerned. But overall, pretty happy with how I did on these trades. Looking at how we did on our stock trading, so starting with Snapchat, I actually did 2 shorts here for 1 and 2.5% respectively, as it says in the text. I'm not going to read it all out for you. Since then, the price finally actually bounced back up, which is something that I said I was waiting for a long time, but I got impatient and did these 2 quick shorts. Turned out pretty well. I got out just before the bounce, and now I'm back in shorting again, so I'm pretty happy with how it's going there. Twitter has done amazingly recently. It feels to me like there is a big pump in kind of hype for the World Cup. Twitter always does well when there's like big global sporting events. Loads of people use it. Loads of people start using it for the first time. And of course, they are live streaming a lot of content from the World Cup on Twitter. So I think that's part of the reason why it's jumped up a lot recently. I mean, the market overall has been doing very well in the past couple of days at least. So who knows, but I've taken a lot of profit out of here. I still have 1 position left that I plan on just holding on to because I think Twitter's still got quite a long way to go. And I actually will probably post a chart later today showing the cup and handle that I've just written in here for you guys. And I also wrote in the weekly update. I think there is a very real chance that we could see Twitter head up to over $40, even potentially up to $50 before it kind of retreats a little bit. So yeah, overall looking very, very good for Twitter, and we've made some really good gains off Twitter over the past couple of months. SolarEdge, a couple more trades closed in the green here, but SolarEdge is declining. It's falling at the moment. We went down to as low as $55 today. It seems that both SolarEdge and First Solar have really been struggling a bit over the past couple of months. I'm not really too sure why. You try and look around for news on what's caused this drop, and there doesn't really seem to be that much. Maybe it's just the market kind of correcting down a bit, because we have seen some really big gains for both of these companies. I'm basically just using this as an excuse to build up my positions in both companies, and hopefully we can see some strong benefits over the summer, which is, by the way, the busiest time for a solar energy company, unsurprisingly. Nintendo, as mentioned earlier, a couple of slides back, I did buy based on technicals actually in Nintendo, and I saw that the company had taken a dip, and I bought a couple of positions, 3 positions in total, I think. All of them pretty low profits, but they were all closed for a profit just before that announcement was made for Pokemon, which is a big shame because obviously 3 positions gaining somewhere in the region of 6 or 7% would have been really, really nice. But regardless, we made some good profit. We got out before it dropped, and it's dropped lower than where it was when I bought my positions. So I've bought back in with 1 more position now ahead of E3, and we'll kind of see where it goes. But Nintendo is something that I try and avoid trading too much because it is very, very skittish, quite a volatile stock to be trading. Goes up and down a lot. So potentially a bit too much for what makes me comfortable. So Shopify and Square. Shopify and Square have both been performing amazingly recently. I said last week and the week before that I wanted to build up positions in both of them, and I did do that. So we have benefited a lot. I only closed 1 position in each of these so far, but we have quite a few positions still open, and we're at substantial profit on both. So we're looking in the region of 8, 9, 10% profit currently on all of the positions in both of those 2. Currently, and they are reasonably large positions in my portfolio, somewhere around 3 or 4% of my portfolio. So we're looking really, really good on both of those. Still very bullish about both of them. I think they've both got really good futures ahead of them. They're both doing really well and growing. And I think, as I mentioned before, this is an underlying trend of the internet kind of starting to retreat a little bit from just having these massive hubs like Amazon and eBay, and head a bit more towards smaller stores that are a bit more bespoke, doing slightly better online and offline as well, to a certain extent. So pretty interesting moves, and I think both of them have got good futures. Both of them are working with cryptocurrencies, Square more than Shopify, but yeah, good futures ahead. And I don't think I really want to close too many of these positions, so we'll be holding on to a lot of them, but obviously trying to take some profit along the way to make sure that we don't get caught out if there's a big correction. Finally, we have oil. So I finally got around to closing one of my long-term shorts on oil that really didn't go very well. Didn't go to plan at all. But I did manage to close it after a substantial drop in oil. So we made the best of a bad situation effectively. I've still got one more short open, which I'm probably going to keep open for a while longer and see if we can maybe get something a bit more out of it. But when oil drops from the 70s down to the 60s, I thought it was a pretty good time to just close it and cut some of the losses and use the money elsewhere. So that's what I've done, and I'm still pretty happy with the decision. Let's take a look at our realized trading stats for this week. So we have 17 trades closed in total. 16 were profitable, 1 was unprofitable, which was the oil trade. Average trade profit of 2.15%. Not too bad, actually. That's higher than it has been in some of my more recent ones. Average trade loss was 14.84%. So obviously that average is just one trade, and that was the oil trade. Again, pretty bad loss, but we did get refunds from that, so it's not actually as big a loss as it first appears on the surface. Most traded stock this week was Nintendo with 3 trades, which I guess just goes to show how inactive I've been trading wise this week. There just haven't been that many good opportunities, and I really wanted to hold out for some slightly better profits potentially next week or the week after. So that leads us to a total profit, realized profit of plus 0.15%. So here's our performance tab. Again, this is showing the movement of the entire portfolio, not our realized statistics. You can see that May we ended up down by just under 8%. I've looked around eToro at some of the other popular investors, and it seems to be pretty much on par with most of the PIs that have a lot of crypto exposure. Obviously, the cryptos didn't do too well in May compared to April, especially. But we've started off June pretty well so far. We're up by around 2%. And obviously week 22, you can see we basically undone what happened in week 21 for the most part. So not too bad. I'm obviously not over the moon with how we're doing, but I think that we are still doing well, and we're still bringing in these small gains week by week, as you can see from the realized trading stats. So let's look ahead and see what's coming up. I am actually going on holiday next week, and I'll be away for 2 weeks. So as a result, I will not be producing my weekly update videos, which is obviously what you're watching at the moment. I will still be doing the posts though, so stay tuned for those. And I'm hoping to stream as pretty much the day after I get home as well, which will be on the 22nd, I think it is. On the Friday. There's quite a lot that's going to be going on while I'm away. There's E3 taking place. The mainnet launch for EOS should be finished and up and running. I will be trading actively still. I've I've paid out the nose to make sure that I've got a good 4G signal while I'm over there, trading from my phone and my laptop. So I'm not massively concerned that we're going to be left in some sort of a really bad situation or anything. But yeah, stay tuned. I still plan on being as active as I reasonably can be, and hopefully I can kind of recharge a bit and come back even more invigorated and happy to trade again when I get home. The EOS mainnet, as just mentioned, should be up within 24 hours of you watching this video if everything goes entirely perfectly. Realistically, you should probably allow like 48 hours or so, but basically they're currently at the stage where they are booting it. It looks, I haven't checked recently, but I imagine by about now that the boot should be just about done effectively. And at that point, they're basically just testing it and making sure that everything is where it's meant to be. All of the wallets have got the correct balances and stuff like that before they actually kind of, start the voting process for block producers and things. So stay tuned for that. I expect trading on eToro will probably come back maybe a day or so after the other exchanges have come back online. So I think we're probably looking towards the end of this week rather than the start of this week for when that's going to happen. So maybe Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Purely my speculation here. Check with eToro if you're not sure, but I suspect that's roughly when we should see it come back if the mainnet launch is successful and there's no major bugs or anything. And of course, as I just said, E3 takes place while I'm in Canada as well. And we have a lot of positions that are relevant to this, including NVIDIA, Activision Blizzard, Take-Two, and Nintendo currently. So, and there may be some others as well. We may take another look at AMD. We may take another look at Intel, even EA. I've traded most of these things previously in the past, so we'll keep an eye on those, and I'll be watching a lot of the E3 stuff from Canada. Cool. Well, that just about does it for me, guys. Again, I won't be here for 2 weeks now, basically. I'll still be posting as actively as I can on eToro, on Twitter, everything like that. So, stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't, because that's probably going to be the best place to keep up with what I'm doing and what I'm thinking about and trading stuff. If I don't have time or my laptop around to really write on eToro, because writing on a phone on eToro is, a lot harder. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.